Getting started. My name is Adrian Cotter. I am on the agenda committee of the Measure DD Community Coalition. Myra Redman and John Bowers are also on the agenda committee. I think our agenda is fairly simple tonight. DD managers reports and then some announcements. I will share links to Terry's project program manager reports and the update table in a second, but they are linked from the website as well. But before I hand things over to Terry, let's do does anyone have any agenda additions they would like to make? If not, then...
Is John Bowers' report on his walk around wherever he walked?
I think, John,
did you want to report on that, John? Or
I certainly can. There were three of us.
Yeah.
I was.
Is that related to James's item about canceling that area? I'm not clear on which area.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, okay, just that when we bring that up, maybe you can report too.
Yeah. So when Terry gets to that in the program manager's report, we can talk about that. So I'll just call off people's names. If you could just introduce yourself. Mandolin.
Hi, good evening. Mandolin Kadira-Redmond with the Oakland Parks and Recreation Foundation, supporting administration and website updates.
Thank you. And then Myra and Bob.
Myra, with the Lake Merritt Institute, and for 2 more months, I'm a weed warrior.
Bob Redmond, SXCAC Community Action Committee.
John.
John Bowers, Lake Merritt Institute.
Bill.
Bill Threlfall, Waterfront Action.
James.
James Van, original member of Measure DD Coalition.
Rick.
Rick Rickard, Bikey Spade.
Dr. Bailey.
Richard Bailey, founder, Lake Merritt Institute.
Robert.
Hi, Robert Kidd, interested citizen.
Terry.
Terry Fashing, acting division manager for the watershed and stormwater management division.
Craig.
I'm Public Works, Bureau of Maintenance and Internal Services, Facility Services Division, Capital Improvement Project Coordinator. That's a mouthful. Sorry about that.
That is a mouthful. Katie.
Yes, sorry. Yes, Katie Noonan, co-chair, Rotary Nature Center Friends, and board member, Lake Merritt Institute.
And Naomi.
Hi. Oakland Heritage Alliance and Coalition of Advocates for Lake Merritt. And my apologies to Craig Pond for having such a long title.
Is it your fault?
It's not my fault. I'm simply sympathetic.
Gotcha. All right, great. Well, welcome all. Thank you for being here. And I will pass it over to Terry.
Okay. I will. Do you want to share your screen or should I share mine? For the, I can share my screen for the little update, okay?
Okay, whichever is
Little update.
Yeah. So first, I'm just going to go through the little PowerPoint on the project updates. So give me a minute. Sorry about this. So many windows open. Okay. Okay, you can see that?
Yep.
Okay, so project update for today. This is the no updates page for these projects. I'll just say that Measure DD Coalition Administrative Support Contract implementation is underway, but we're not providing a detailed update. So moving on. So here's an update on the Tidegate Operations Manual for the 7th Street Flood Control Facility. The city is still waiting for comments on our, really it isn't a memo, it's a manual. I need to correct that. The city is waiting for final comments on the city's Tidegate Operations Manual from the district. I was able to finally meet with district staff on July 6, 2023. They committed to me that they're going to provide written comments, and I sent a reminder today in the meeting that I had with them. They said that they thought that the manual was pretty accurate in the way that it characterized how the district manages the tide gates. The manual will not be used by the district as a guide. However, what they did say is it provides general information on Tidegate operations. But I have asked them to provide written comments so we can finalize that document. Also, they have received both letters from the DD Coalition regarding the manual and the Tidegates, and they acknowledge that, and that is not going to, you know, the manual is going to stay pretty much as it is, and it's more of an informational project. And as we've discussed previously, since that manual is not going to affect how the tide gates are operated, I don't want to continue to put time and effort into it. And we just want to finalize it and make sure that it accurately explains some of the things that the flood control district does in terms of operating the tide gates. Then we received comments from the DD Coalition on the memo. I don't know why I'm calling it a memo, but it's a manual. So I'll correct this, but it's those comments, as I said, were shared with the district. And this is a good time to simply say that there's a spreadsheet that was provided with all of the questions from the DD Coalition regarding Tidegate operations that we collected, that you all populated, and that I sent to the district, and we've been waiting for them to provide comments on that, on those questions and comments. And they, in the meeting that I had with them on July 6th, they said that they will not answer every single question because there was some redundancy, but that they had reviewed the entire thing and that they will be providing me with a general response that speaks to the questions that you all had. And so I again sent an email to them today, and we'll continue following up with them. But I sent an email asking for an ETA as to when they might be able to send me that summary as well as the comments on the manual. So that's an update there.
Barry, before you go, can
Yeah.
I ask a quick question?
Of course.
When you refer to the Tidegate Operations Manual, is that another term for the document that we received some years ago from Wood Rogers?
Yes.
That's the same document, is that
Correct?
Okay?
And there were 2 in-depth letters that were sent regarding that manual by different members of the coalition. Those letters were shared with the district about the manual. And like I said, as we've said in previous meetings, that, you know, my strategy, since we're not the flood control district and we don't operate those tide gates, I wanted to send everyone's comments to them. And then they wanted to work through us to provide an answer, and I'm still waiting for their answers. But they have, in the meeting on July 6th, they did talk about how they had reviewed both letters, and they reiterated that the tide gates, the way they operate the tide gates, is really driven by flood control concerns, and water quality and habitat protection and aquatic life protection does figure in, but that the main focus is on flood control. And so they were going to provide more details on that in their summarized response to the 2 letters and to all of the questions and comments that were included in the detailed spreadsheet that we provided to them. So I wish I had more to tell you, but it's positive that I met with them, and I will continue following up and being a squeaky wheel.
Katie has a question.
Yes, thank you so much, Terry. So you mentioned that the document, which was a draft memo, by its own memo, who's calling it a manual, because it actually laid out several scenarios, and rather than being a memo,
Okay.
a manual which would prescribe certain actions in certain situations, it offered options. I'm wondering who was changing that, you or
You know,
them?
that is just my mistake. Internally, we have referred to it as a manual and apparently a memo, because I have used both here. I think it was ultimately meant to be a manual, but you are absolutely correct that in the end, what is becoming is a memo. So I can revert back to that word memo, but it was originally intended to be a manual, but it will not be used as such as an operations manual. And so therefore, I think it's accurate to say that it is an informational memo on some ideas about tide gate operations, and it does provide information about the tide gates and about how they're operated. So
Do you think the county is backing away from keeping the lake level high during the day and then opening the gates at night?
that I do not know, but okay, let me just write that down. Say that again, Dr. Bailey, in
Well, the
particular.
Wood Rogers report suggested keeping the lake at a high level during the day by trapping the water inside and then opening the gates at night, to provide some flushing, but not opening the gates during the day.
So I'm not going to say that the district is backing away from that, because they didn't agree to that. That was just our suggestion. So, Katie makes a really good point that we shouldn't call this a manual. It's a memo with information and suggestions that, will be, this information has been provided to the district, and they're proceeding with their methods and their approach to controlling the tide gates. And it will not be based on any recommendations necessarily that we provide. So I appreciate that there is that kind of information in the manual. And now it's been a minute since I read it in detail, so forgive me, but I will, when I remind them, that we're waiting on their comments, I will mention that some of the recommendations that, well, really what I will mention is that there's interest in responding to all of the questions in the spreadsheet, as well as in the 2 letters that were provided. They're going to provide their comments on that memo. And that will influence the way that we finalize it and the way that it's, you know, ultimately finalized. But yes, I will mention to them that I hope that with some detail, they can respond to all of the questions, that we can settle these issues.
Good, good.
I don't know what else I can do except to continue to touch base and use my communication skills to try to, you know, I think what one bit of feedback I did get from them is that they have lost a lot of staff, and I think the city is going through this, and they're going through this, and so many of them are doing several people's jobs while they try to fill positions, and so I think that's part of their struggle. So, okay. So any other questions?
I'll just say that I think ultimately what we'd like to know is how they actually do operate the facility. I think that's the open question. But
We have 24/7
Right, and
data from our boys, so we know day to day how it's being operated.
right, and that's true. And I will ask though for them to provide that information. And you're right, Dr. Bailey, we can see that based on the data being collected. But yeah, I believe that I did say that in my meeting with them, that is what John Medlock is planning to provide us with, is information on how to on how they operate the tide gates, on what bases. And the other bit of information that I got from them is that if anyone, there were some questions earlier that I think Josiah had. If any groups have questions or want to communicate with the flood control district about making changes to the tide gate operations based on maybe, say, needing to do work on a dock or something, that those concerns or questions should go through the city, and then the city has the contacts of John Medlock and Carl Speaker. Then we can submit, they would take a request from the city regarding a request about changes to the tide gate operations in the case of needing to do maintenance. And so the way that would work is the club, say the rowing club, would submit a request to Oak 311, and then that would make its way through the system, right, to get to the appropriate staff so that those staff could communicate directly with the district, agency to agency. So that's how that would work. So okay, I'm going to move on. So Craig, this is you. And thank you for being here, Craig.
I'm turning my video on. Thanks everyone for having me. Good evening. It's been a little bit since I've been at this meeting. Haven't been ignoring the work, just been busy with lots of other projects. But I wanted to come and brief you on the Lake Merritt pathway, I guess, rehabilitation. Currently, we were having problems with identifying a contractor with the ability, experience with the selected material that we chose. And I don't know if you all have remembered, elephant armor comes with a manufacturer's guarantee and warranty, but it has to be installed in a certain way. So along with the installation comes with a general training of the contractor. And we're trying to utilize existing city contractors to perform this work. Good news is that I do have numbers in hand. They have not been formalized by the contractor, but the bad news is on that front is that the number that I've seen is more than double the amount of a budget available. And so just we're trying to continue to look at our options and negotiate with the contractors to come to agreement on a contract to get the pathway repaired and rehabilitated. Not really related to that is that obviously, as Terry had mentioned, we're also having staffing shortage issues, and that's also kind of impinged on the delays as well. So, but that's kind of my little tidbit that I have for the rehabilitation and repair of the pathway on the lakeshore side of the lake. Anyone have questions?
James?
Okay, I saw Katie's hand before mine.
I'm taking my hand down. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Craig, for the update, and it's good to know that you can understand how you've had to handle other things as well, but it has been a pretty long time, at least 18 months, perhaps even more. If the present subcontractor, I think, well, I'd like to be glad that we have a subcontractor identified, but if his prices are double what we have available, I just wonder, I have a question to ask, and the question is, was the original contractor contacted at all during this process, and if they had a subcontractor, were we referred to him? Because it seems to me that would have been the quick way to find out, I would hope, of identifying somebody who's done the work and who was able to do the work and could do it could respond fairly quickly if, in fact, the people were available. But I made that recommendation before hearing this report from you, so maybe it's kind of late for that. But if the subcontractor is not going to work out, is that an option that's being looked into? Has that option been looked at all? Was the original contractor looked up or talked to or whatever?
Thanks, James, for your question. Absolutely. That was the initial track that I went down. I located the contractor at the time, and it's definitely been a minute. So just to refresh everyone's memory, that material that is placed there is a DG resin with epoxy resin in it. And that company is no longer in business, actually went out of business because the product was underperforming. So that's kind of why we went in this direction to locate a different product that would be more feasible, and they have much more durability. And additionally, our shop is we're doing more of a repair rehabilitation versus taking the entire pathway down to the base material and redoing the path, because if we had done that, the cost would be even more astronomical. So I would say yes, we did look at that, but it wasn't an option at the time, and pretty much at this time I don't think it's an option either. It's still cost effective to go this direction, even at the cost that they're talking about, because the other options would be to take it down to the base, basically reconstruct the entire pathway. So.
All right, I thank you for the update, and appreciate the follow-up you're doing.
Of course, and I apologize. I know it's been definitely been a while. Like I said, there's just been so much going on, and the contractor, the difficulty with identifying the contractor has been trying.
Okay, one of the last thing I'll say is one of the methods of operation that has existed on DD projects from the very beginning was to evaluate what is the most that we can do with the money that's available.
Mhm.
And if we could get other grants to supplement that, we did that, but otherwise we were only able to do certain projects because that was the limit of the money we had.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
no problem. Thank you.
And just Craig and I will follow up around the fiscal side of this. And yeah, thank you so much, Craig. And it has become, contracting has become harder. And also our capital contracts group lost all of their staff kind of suddenly, hired a new division manager who was getting up to speed, and then she quit very soon after starting. So our assistant director of my bureau, which is over capital contracts and watersheds, she has been working nights and weekends. She's been managing the capital contracts group nights and weekends, doing an incredible job with no staff. And I think they will be hiring staff. It's just, it's been very trying. So please, thank you so much to everyone for your patience. We're experiencing these kinds of issues in other areas as well. And but very, you know, there are a lot of folks working to bring it up so that everything can function well moving forward. Also, we've just seen a lot of cost escalation in the cost of implementing projects. So regarding the comment you made, James, you know, like I said, Craig and I will get together and just say, what can we do with the amount of money we have, as well as me, I will be looking at additional money that we have and reach out to the coalition about my recommendations regarding this project. So that's it. Thank you so much. Katie, I'm sorry, but I think you have a question.
I'm very sorry. I have to figure out how to lower my hand. So I have an irrelevant comment, which I'll make later. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Great. Thanks,
everyone.
Craig. Have a
I
good-
lowered your hand. I lowered your hand for you, Katie.
Oh,
I'll
thank
stay
you
on for a
very
little bit. I
much.
want to hear everything, everyone.
Okay.
But thank you though.
Okay, thanks, Craig. Okay, so Lake Merritt interpretive signs. Those signs were installed the week of May 15th. And you can view information on these signs at the web link provided, but there's a very small kind of low quality photo, sorry about that, picture of one of the signs that were installed. So
Signs are great.
yeah, wonderful. Really grateful to Jennifer Stern, who made this project happen. It took a long time, but we're very excited those signs are out there. So moving on to the Lake Merritt Channel improvements at 10th Street. So this project has also met many challenges. I tell you, it's just a lot of challenges. So the San Francisco Water Board, Regional Water Quality Control Board, they responded to our proposed replanting plan. We need to replant the wetland. If you can see on this little image, there's the wetland. Can you all see my cursor?
Yes.
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 So
Yeah, a little red dot, yeah.
yeah, this is the wetland area. So we need to replant this area to comply with our regulatory permits from the Army Corps and the regional board. But we also have, as part of 10th Street mitigation in particular, the mitigation wetland provided mitigation for the 12th Street Bridge project and the 10th Street Bridge project. But then these other circled areas over here and here, and I think there's one over here, these needed to be planted, and this was for meeting the 10th Street Bridge mitigation. And so these plants have not survived. We cannot close out our permits, and so we need to do replanting. And we submitted the proposed plans to the water board. They came back and said that their policy had changed, and now they require 10 years of post-installation monitoring and reporting when you replace trees, and 5 years for shrubs and other plantings, and you have to achieve an overall 80% survival rate. So our current permits that we're trying to close out of had 3 years post-project monitoring and reporting. So we still would like to communicate with the water board to see if they would provide some flexibility, because it's very hard for us on this project at this time to contend with 10 years of monitoring and reporting and 5 years, you know. So we're going to be speaking with them, but we do not, even if we allocated DD funding for this, my goodness, it's my plan to take care of Measure DD and close it out before 5 years are over. And so we can't like use Measure, we shouldn't, and our plan is not to have Measure DD funds available in 10 years from now. And so we do have a funding issue associated with this. We're kind of a little bit stuck. And so this is something that I'm going to be discussing with our assistant director from a Measure DD fiscal side. And it'll be in collaboration with the project manager, Rebecca Dar. She and I met about this last week, and it is challenging. The other issue is that the homeless encampments are present in, there's a lot of homeless encampment presence in this area. And the area that's the mitigation wetland section that is fenced off is in good shape, and we could proceed with the replanting here. But the replanting in these 10th Street mitigation spots is going to be kind of challenging to protect. And so we're talking about different options. So we're, so the status of the encampments at this site were documented yesterday. The project manager was there checking it out, and that will be reported to the encampment management team. For us to be able to do work at this site, we would need to work with the encampment management team regarding closing the encampments so that we can do the work. But that is that takes time. So anyway, we're making progress but meeting challenges. So any questions? No?
Yes.
Okay.
So back in February, I believe, we had some trash cleanups in that area, which were very popular. It's a beautiful place, it's very educational. And I'm wondering if that might be possible, given that there's a delay in the actual planting, which I understand would then close it off because of the contract needing to be protected and the contractor held to account. But until that happens, I would like to offer some help in trying to organize some volunteers to work possibly in both areas.
Okay, and I think that the best way to make that happen with support from the city is through the Adopt a Spot program. And I did just hear last week that they have unexpected staffing challenges. The person who was the main supervisor moved to a different part of the city. And then they have 4 people, 2 of whom for various reasons are not available to work for some limited period of time. And so there's a bit, so yes, Katie, but reach out to the Adopt a Spot team, and it just may be a few weeks before you get a response. Okay.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
Is Carrie gone?
Carrie?
Yeah. Carrie Brink?
Curie is.
No, he's not that. I mean, you're right.
He's
Okay.
in Parks and Tree Services Division.
right.
And so if you've worked with him before, that's the other great contact, is reach out to Curie Brink. Yeah. And
Okay, I'll do
so-
both. Yeah, thank
yeah,
you.
together with both, yeah. So
Thanks so much.
yeah, he's the acting division manager for Parks and Tree Services Division right now. So, okay, moving on to the waterfront access category. So the Fruitvale Land.
Oh, well, wait, I did have my hand up. I
Oh,
about
sorry.
this last thing.
Apologies,
And
Myra.
it's
and
just
James.
that I have down here that somebody wanted to have a sign on the fence talking about the planting project. And Rebecca Dar was interested in that. I don't know. Can you
Okay.
address that?
Okay, that needs to be my action to check with her on that. And
So I'll
got it.
keep that on the agenda for next meeting.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Okay,
Thank you.
I will ask how we could make that happen. And then looks like James.
Terry, I put 2 questions in the chat. Can you just
Okay.
refer to them and answer them?
While sharing my screen, I have to say I don't know how to see the chat. Oh, here we go. Sorry. It was up here. I'm not used to Zoom. Okay. So ask water board for grant sources. Since these are re-encampments, can we ask the EMT for a weekly monitoring to keep out campers? Yeah, great point, James. We can do that. I will ask Rebecca if she can. I asked her to report to 311 because now all of the EMT encampment management team, they're now taking all of their complaints through 311 and they're tracking all of their encampment management in CityWorks now, which is great. And so I asked Rebecca to report it through 311 and I'll ask her to provide that additional information that you've just pointed out, James, okay? And I'll bring up the sign with her.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Anything else? Nope. So I'm gonna move on. Fruitvale Bridge land crossing. This is under construction. We had said last time that it would be completed this summer. The project manager put in an update and said November 2023 estimated for project completion. Estuary Park. So no, there's a bit of an update here in that, well, I'll get to that in a second, but the project remains true that we're working our way because of the grant we got from the Coastal Conservancy Climate Adaptation Fund. We paused the 95% documentation to allow time for the enhanced shoreline design to catch up. However, I will tell you that technical work on this project is continuing. I've been coordinating with the project manager on this one regarding, various challenges that have come up about this particular project. And so the other thing just FYI that I have discussed with the project manager is using this project, and I think we talked about this last time when Chris was here. We need to spend Measure DD funds in order to sell the 4th tranche of DD. So we are looking at how we can break Estuary Park into 2 or 3 different chunks.
What's new?
So that we can construct them, so we can spend the money so that we can get more money. And we're working to get that done. However, we do have a certain challenge right now having to do with some storm drainage lines on the parcel. And so we are quickly working to resolve that so that we can clarify what can be constructed quickly. And I'm at the same time in communication with the budget office. And we did put forth that we wanted to use Measure DD Series D funding to construct the Estuary Park project. And we did submit this through the capital improvement program. And we requested funding to be sold not this fiscal year, but the following fiscal year for construction of the Estuary Park project. And so we submitted that through the CIP. And if you go to the CIP page, it lists Estuary Park. And it's a little confusing because they don't, the way they present this on the CIP page, they do not say what the full cost of the project is, like the amount that we have allocated now. They just say the amount that we're planning to allocate. And so I recommended that we, sell the Series D funds to get what is needed to that we think we need to construct the Estuary Park project. So that's $9.8 million. And we did put that into the budget, and you can see it on the city's page. So that is an update for the Estuary Park project. Are there questions? So this just means that today I'm working with Chris Reed to advance this project, and my job is to provide that DD funding, but it's a little complicated because we have to spend the funding and then fully invoice and then sell the DD funds for Series D. And so we're working to make that happen, and we're in communication with the budget office about it, and they're being very supportive of us. They want to support us to, according to what's required in the bond, proceed with delivering projects. And so that is the update for Estuary Park. Any questions?
I was getting ready to type a question. Can a signed contract count as spent funds?
No, it can't, unfortunately. And but I am going to be reaching out to them to just make sure that, I'm going to make sure to share with them and very clearly show them where we are, and then they're providing very supportive. They're ready to provide a lot of support to me to help me negotiate this. They've been very busy in the CIP, budget adoption process all through June, and so I will be reaching out to them. I will actually request a meeting with them before this month is over. So I'll make that, I'll send my request out tomorrow. So yeah, I've been on a real learning curve with this, and they've been very busy. So anyway, we're making progress, and I'm feeling pretty positive about Estuary Park. So, but yeah, every project has many challenges is what I'm learning. So moving on to this project has not progressed. The project and grant management division lost their division manager. They've been scrambling to cover project management on all of their projects because they've also had a staff helping with capital contracts who lost all of their staff. So we're doing our best as things change, and it does take a lot. It takes significant time to fill positions at the City of Oakland, and I see efforts, successful efforts to prioritize critical positions. And yeah, everybody is just continuing to try to work to make improvements, but this project is a bit on the back burner. However, I did get an update from Wen today that they did receive from the consultant the order of magnitude cost estimates. So I'm actually gonna request a meeting to review that with the project manager so that we can see what our next steps are. And you know, and I'm also going to ask if we can meet to discuss this environmental site assessment report as well as the geotech report, so we can make that critical decision about going the next step to meet with the East Bay Regional Park District, review everything we know about the project, review all of the input that I've received from all of you about this project, because I have, you know, different points of view. I have feedback or a request from Rick Ricard and the gentleman from East Bay Regional Park District, D. Rosario, the board member. There's a request to meet, and I haven't forgotten about any of this, but we have, the project manager has not been able to dedicate time to work on this project. So that is hopefully going to change in August. So apologies, we haven't forgotten about it, understand what all of the issues are here, and we will, my intention is to take action so that this continues to move and decisions can be made in August of 2023. So that's an update there. So moving on.
James,
Yeah,
I think some people have visited the site and may want to speak to this.
Okay.
Terry, I think at the last meeting, I brought up the alternative of if it looks like making this crossing across these industrial plant areas is going to be difficult or overly time consuming, that we give up crossing those private properties and go back to the maybe reroute to the sidewalk. And it was stated that we were in line to sort of get responses from consultants and orders of magnitude of cost estimates and so forth. It's been a long time negotiating these things, and I think we ought to have some kind of a deadline on how much more time it's going to take to do the investigation and the negotiation with the owners of the property, so that we have a date by which we're going to just make a decision that we give up trying to go across these industrial sites and revert to the site.
Right. I hear you. I also received an email, I think, from John Bowers about and who has an interest in proceeding with this project. Nonetheless, my plan is to schedule a meeting with the project manager, you know, state what you have stated, James, and that we need to proceed. We need to make our way through these reports, and we need to make a decision one way or another. Are we pursuing this, or are we gonna meet with East Bay Regional Park District about the possibility of handing this off to them? And I, you know, will work on making this happen. Go ahead, Rick.
Thank you, Terry. As you said, this has dragged on for a very long time.
Yeah.
I, with all due respect to James, as a bicyclist, have great concerns about going on street. This is probably one of the most complex and dangerous intersections in the entire East Bay for bicyclists. And to give up on this and go on street, to me, would really be the very, very last resort. We've negotiated with all 3 property owners for many years. We get some form of agreement, and then we have staff changes or other issues that come up. I would really like to be involved, along with Dee and John, in your meetings with the consultants to talk about how we might go forward with this, because I think it's a very important, just a key part of the Bay Trail, and I would hate to see us give it up. So I really would like to pursue this
Okay.
as soon as possible, and not it's gone on for like 20 years. We've been through like 5 or 6 management changes at Miller Milling, and they're in agreement, but then they're not in agreement because we don't seem to get our act together. So I'd really like to see us address this with some urgency.
Okay, thank you. And I will bring that to my assistant director. And, you know, we do have, our staffing issues are real, and that is impacting this project. But I will bring up how important it is. And as the acting DD bond manager, it's very necessary for us not to continue delaying on this one. And I will definitely share the various positions that I've heard from the coalition with regard to this project. And we'll let you know what we find out. I mean, it may be that, yeah, I just realized that this is just a really difficult project. It's so I hear your desire to meet, join us in a meeting. I think, you know, for us to meet with, it's a little more complicated for us to be meeting with D. Rosario because he's an elected board member. Is that true? And so we have to kind of go through certain channels to make that happen. I need to just check and see. And I need to check with my East Bay Regional Park District colleagues. But I hear what you're asking for, and I will take this back to my management and also communicate with the project and grants management division. They're the ones who assign project managers to this project. And I will share this information and ask that we move quickly to work on this project and come to decisions and try to figure out a path forward if we're going to continue working with this project, or figure out a good plan for transferring it to East Bay Regional Park District that could potentially result in the trail being built eventually by that agency. So
Thank you, Terry. I will say, I think I can speak for Dee that he would be quite willing to meet with you and talk about it. And he's not bypassing staff. He'd be willing to work with staff to talk with them and work with you.
I absolutely know that. And I really feel that and see that. And I just, you know, I have just certain process I have to go through, but I appreciate that comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure whose hand was up first.
John, then Bill, then Myra.
Okay.
Yeah, the only comment I have, I actually share James's concerns about the feasibility of placing this trail on top of the levee that goes along the estuary, because it goes right through currently actively utilized areas on the CEMEX and on the marina properties, not so much on Miller Milling. But doesn't mean that there isn't an alternative. And the alternative that we looked at when we went down there to visit it was to place the trail over the water along the Cemex and the marina properties, and have the trail come up to the top of the levee on the milling property where there seems to be lots of open space. So anyway, you know, if these companies are willing to reorganize or relocate their activities so that there will be room for a trail on top of the levee, that's great. You know, that's good news to hear. But if that's a stumbling block, if that is not something that looks like it's capable of being negotiated, there is an alternative, and it's the alternative that I just described.
Yes, and that is a very, very expensive and difficult to permit alternative. However, given everything, it actually might be equal in cost or less expensive and maybe less complicated in the end, even though it is so complicated, right? That's what's interesting is about the water idea, is it's looking more and more feasible lately. So
Well,
I appreciate your comment.
When I say water, I mean over land that is owned by the East Bay Regional Park District.
Sure, right,
the
over the water that's like just at the edge of the parcel. Yeah, no, I hear what you mean. I know, and we've looked at that and talked about it, and whereas previously it didn't seem feasible, it's seeming like a better and better idea to me.
Well,
so
believe me, if you want to take a more serious look at that option, please get in touch with Dee, because he's our contact person with the Park District.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Who's next?
Bill.
Terry, I would just like to undergird the importance of the long efforts that Rick has made to move this project forward. He's been on the cusp of agreement with various leadership teams at Miller Milling, and that changed identity over the years. And I just would want to say that whether it be the approach that was originally conceived along the levee or the alternative described by John or some other means, I think this needs to receive some attention. And so we've been very patient. Rick has worked like an incredibly skillful behind the scenes negotiator, only to be frustrated when management changes. We shouldn't let this slip away. So I want to emphasize that.
Thank you for emphasizing that. This is helpful to me to hear your comments. So Myra is next.
It's eminent domain in the last meeting, and is this being considered, or could it be considered for acquiring some property?
Yeah, that is a tool that could be used. It is, it's a difficult tool for the city to use. So, but yeah, that is among the things that would need to be considered for us to, you know, it's an alternative to consider. So like I said, I've been waiting to see this order of magnitude cost estimate. I just found out today that we do have it, and I am going to schedule a meeting and ask if we can discuss all three of these things that are pending and understand the implications of them, and also, you know, make sure that my assistant director is aware of what's happening, and Rick's efforts, the offer by Di Rosario, and the general community coalition's input to me about this project, you know. So our hands are still up, John and
All
Bill.
right. I had my say.
Okay. Got it. All right. Hands are down. Thanks all. Thank you. Cortland Creek Restoration Project. The construction contract was executed. Notice to proceed June 18th. Construction is underway. I mean, it's not underway, but it's starting to be underway, right? And the completion is expected spring of 2024. We have to be out of the creek channel by October 30th, I think. So we're rushing to get that project done, and it's great that it's happening. So any questions? No. Yeah. Nope. Yes. No questions. Okay. Mike is we've been super busy there. You know, Mike has not had a lot of time to work on the acquisitions project, but the consultant has been working, provided a list of top 200 parcels to consider. Staff will evaluate this. So that's Mike Perlmutter. And yeah, so he's got a lot organized on this. So we'll see where we can take this in the next several months. So that is all for those projects.
Terry,
yeah.
can you tell us what is shown on that map?
No.
What do the colors represent?
What I can tell you, the green parcels show the colors of places that scored high based on ecological and equity parameters. So these just show the best areas for us to look more deeply according to the model developed by the consultant. And if you'd like, we could, you know, Mike will make a certain amount of progress between now and the next DD meeting, but maybe if you're interested, he could come and explain where he has, what he's sorted out, what he's figured out, and what his recommendations are based on the information he's received from the consultant and all of the research he has done. And like I said, he
Maybe
have had him working on
replacing.
other things. Because of the storms, we have many projects that were like storm drainage improvement projects that are urgent that we've been working on. And I've had to, because of the loss of our civil engineer, we only have one civil engineer anyway. I have been using some of my staff to help me manage that flood response side of our group. And yeah, it's been kind of a long year. So, but if that's interesting, please let me know, because I'm happy to have Mike come and give a presentation on his findings regarding acquisitions. Go ahead, Myra.
Is this a DG project?
Yeah, DD. Mm-hmm.
Would be spending DD money to make these acquisitions? Is that?
Yes.
This is the first I've heard of this. So.
One of the categories of DD funds is around watersheds.
Right, it's part of the creek and waterway restoration category.
Could you attach a copy of this map to the minutes?
Yes. Okay. Got it. Thank you so much. And if the agenda committee can just make the decision as to whether they would like Mike to come and maybe give a brief presentation on the work he's been doing with the consultant, okay, at the next meeting. So that is, so the disappointing truth is that we also have this table which provides similar project status on the projects that are active. I mean, it's pretty much the same. Sorry about this print job right there, cut it off. But this is loaded to the website. I will just be honest with you all. I am really, I am working on the fiscal side of things. I'm not done. I have 2 meetings scheduled. I have a very big spreadsheet that I don't understand well enough, and I need to process it more with our fiscal staff. She and I have been terribly busy because of everything, the FEMA issues, and we get many, we're dealing with many capital projects of urgent storm drainage repair. And so we are trying to move that along with the Lake Merritt aeration project. And so I am not ready to share the fiscal side of things. I will be ready by the next meeting, and before, if you'd like me to provide information before. I have 2 meetings scheduled with my fiscal staff this week as well as next week for us to really dig into that spreadsheet that she has provided to me. I feel this need to really understand it, make sure I can explain it, summarize it, and be able to come to you, because when I go through it, I have questions, and so I'm not ready to share it, but I'm also going to be developing with her an approach for regular DD updates, and we'll propose that to you at the next meeting. But my thought is that I'm going to provide a really big spreadsheet that provides the big history about every single project, shows staff expenditures over time, shows all of the different tranches of funding, and shows where we are in every project. What it doesn't provide is for every project, there's also grant funding. And I think that would be more work than I could do to historically go back and look at every project, you know, how much grant funding also was used to complete the project. We can do that on current projects, but to do that historical deep dive would be very time consuming, and I'm not sure that fruitful, but I will be able to show you here's all the projects, here's the staff expenditures. So I'm sorry that it's taking me so long. I have not worked on it in the way that I should. I am every single minute of every day, I have really literally 5 or 10 of the hottest priorities that I need to be doing in that moment. And I am just frankly, yeah, I have a lot going on that I'm hoping to get under control, but I will make a huge commitment for both on, you know, dealing with some of these projects, such as continuing to work on the Estuary Park project, you know, in collaboration with the project manager to make sure that we can move that along and spend the funding to come with a spending plan to you guys to try to really move the 7th to 23rd Street project along, and to really come to you with a detailed expenditures and staffing expenditures report at the next meeting. And I think that that is a realistic goal for me. Yeah, so I am sorry, and I have definitely been working on it. My fiscal person has developed a good spreadsheet, but I do have questions for her. So she and I are meeting on Wednesday. We're meeting the following Wednesday, and we'll start meeting regularly. And I will start meeting regularly with the project managers as well, so that, you know, and what's more, we have all of the wish list projects. I have a much better handle on how the CIP process works. I understand now how the mid-cycle budget process will work. So I think I'll be able to, between now and our next meeting, meet with project and grant management staff, talk to them about the wish list. We'll be finding out about some funding that we applied for Lake Merritt water quality management planning. Barbara Lee did recommend to give us a little less than $1 million, but we are waiting for the we're waiting for Congress to make their final decision about their budget, and it is possible that the folks on the other side of the aisle from Barbara Lee could make a decision that could impact that funding. However, we think we're going to be getting less than $1 million. So just shy of $1 million for Lake Merritt water quality. But we don't know when we'll get that. It might be by the end of this calendar year, but we also might not get it. So I have been waiting, hoping to hear more about that. But nonetheless, I'm not ready, but I will at our next meeting, I can make a commitment to you right now that I will come with that spreadsheet. We'll have a plan for how we're going to be providing fiscal information to you every 2 months regularly. You all can provide feedback on that plan. And yeah, I apologize. I can say with great confidence that I've been working on very many things here at the city that are critically important. And it isn't that Measure DD isn't also critically important. It is, you know, it's that sinkholes in people's yards are happening and diverting my attention, as well as homeless encampments. And so a lot of urgent issues have been coming up that really make it hard for me to make progress on some of the things that are also urgent or very important. So thanks for your patience with me. That's what I have to say. That's my update.
Thanks, Terry. Appreciate your work, and know it's a challenging time in a lot of ways. So I lost my. So I think we have some announcements, and then we can just go through a list of action items. I know one thing that we said we were going to, the agenda committee said we were going to look into, and we've not done, is looking at hybrid meeting in person. So I've been out of town and such. So hopefully we'll have that next month. Katie, do you want to talk about your next events?
Yeah, so at some point I might want to give a report to the committee regarding the water testing and HAB testing that we've been doing at the lake, but I'm not ready now. So I'll talk to Terry about that and send it. We'll do it later. We are hosting another Lakeside Chat on August with Eddie Dunbar, Lake Merritt College professor and person who knows a lot about insects and a lot about Lake Merritt. And so I will share that information. So we have an Eventbrite, and hopefully I can drop that in. But if not, just go to Rotary Nature Center Friends online, and there will be a link to that upcoming talk by Eddie.
Thanks, Katie.
Can you repeat the date of that again?
Yeah, it's going to be August 4th at 7 p.m. by Zoom. So all times are by Zoom. We have, this will be our 33rd. Everyone has is about natural history, community, with some link to Lake Merritt and Oakland. So we're really proud of that. And it's on YouTube. And yeah, so I will try to get that link right now before we quit.
And that will be recorded, right?
Yes, yeah, it'll be
Okay,
go up on our playlist.
Great.
Meyer, were you going to give
Yeah, for the Weed Warriors, yes, they will meet at Lakeside Drive at the foot of Madison Street, 9 a.m. to noon on July 29th. This workday and the August workday are the last 2 days of the Weed Warriors. I don't know if you know. Joel Peter and Jenny Gerard are stepping aside after then. And if anybody might be interested in leading the Weed Warriors, please contact Jenny Gerard.
Okay, thanks. And Bob, were you want to
Yes.
talk to the?
Yes, Essex CAC is hosting the Lake Merritt Conservancy Coalition meeting. It's our second monthly meeting. We believe that all the folks at Double D should be interested in making an effort to determine if conservancy is the right vehicle to do some of the things that would help Terry, would help the overworked, overburdened, underpaid citizens and mostly staff that has been working on problems for years, because we'd like to see a different form of private-public cooperation to solve some of these problems. Welcome you all from 10 a.m. to 12, July 22nd at the Essex Clubhouse. Attend if you can. Thank you.
James, do you have a?
Yes, I had a question for Dr. Bailey.
Yes,
And the question is, how are we doing this year with the algae situation? Did the extra hot days complicate things, or are we keeping up with it, or anything you can say about that?
well, I think the more heat you get, the more algae will grow, and it's out there definitely. I haven't heard that there's any problems directly associated with that. I'm not there that much. Katie's probably seen more of it than I have. I'm not sure. I have not heard that the harvester is out there. That's really what we should be looking at.
So if I could add, the harvester has been out, but it stopped about a week and a half ago because of light algae. That was during the cold period. And now there is a lot of the green algae that we have seen for decades. It's not anything new or particularly, sinister at this time. And the dissolved oxygen top and bottom at Lake Merritt has been good on every time that we've been out there to test it, although we need to look at the data from buoys, etc. We're getting a bigger picture of the health of Lake Merritt and than we ever have before. So that's a good thing, but algae in itself is not is something that's been there for decades. Also, we are experiencing an influx of widgeon grass, which hasn't been there for a long time, but it's back. So Lake Merritt is just such an interesting lake, but that's what I can say about it.
Katie, you haven't, and Dick, neither of you have seen or heard any reports of the toxic algae that caused the fish kill, the nasty rust-colored stuff that caused the fish kill last year. You haven't seen any evidence of that this year, right?
As far as I know, that's right.
I didn't hear that. My internet connection is unstable. Okay, that's my problem. I didn't hear the question.
Simply, the question is, have you seen any evidence of the nasty toxic algae that caused the fish kill last year?
No, no, and there have been a couple of tests by water boards. They did not report any of fresh material, and we have not seen that. And we haven't seen the discoloration of the water.
Good.
Right, and I'll just add, yeah, that's all true. And we've been checking on that and checking with the water board, and we appreciate the communication, Katie. I talked to Eli Kirsch about those little fish that you saw that had died in a little mat of algae. And sometimes, like, the harvester does come out and they can collect a lot of the algae. Can you all see this? Oh wait, share. This is from what they did, I think in June They collected a lot of algae. They can get most of the algae, but on the edges, they can't always access it. And so it would be necessary to have someone in a boat go around and kind of rake up the algae on the edge. And Eli Kirsch's theory was that little fish can kind of swim it over there and can kind of get a little bit stuck in a mat of algae that's up against the edge in a real shallow area where it gets warmer, temperature increases, and it could lead to little loss of fish. So that information was shared with the water board about those fish, and they were not concerned. They saw that the DO was in good shape throughout most parts of the lake or where we have the buoys, and that we're not concerned, and we are moving forward with the aeration project. We have some recommended equipment to put into the Glen Echo arm and the other arm that I'm forgetting the name of. And we're working on that, and we submitted to the water board a request to get permits because we have to go through a 4-month process to get permits from Army Corps and regional boards. So we submitted, I think it was on Friday, an email to them saying, please meet with us about this. So that's the first step towards getting permits. And then they have to meet with us within 30 days, something like that. And we're putting together the project description. We're going to meet with the water board, and then we're going to schedule another public meeting to get input from folks. And that's an update on that project. Also, I just wanted to, just on this topic of Lake Merritt water quality, I wanted to share with you all. Do you all see my screen? This is Barbara Lee, who.
We see your desktop. We don't see Barbara Lee.
Oops. Oh.
Unless she's hidden in the stars.
So let's try that again. Share screen. Here. How's that?
That's better.
See it? So this is Barbara Lee's page, and she recommended $1 million of funding for that Lake Merritt water quality project, Healthy Lake Initiative, that you all wrote letters of recommendation for. I haven't publicized this yet because I'm waiting for it to be a for sure thing. Then last week I did get an email saying that it's gone down to just shy of just under $1 million, but it's still, there's a lot of positivity about it. It's just not a done deal yet. And so I'm waiting. And when I talked to this lobbyist about it, he said it could be tomorrow or it could take until December. So I just wanted to tell you all about that.
Terry, regarding the permits on the water board from the Corps and so forth, you mentioned a 4-month process that puts us beyond, beyond summer. I mean, basically we will have nothing in place if the heat rises and the Sudanichi is still out there.
That is true. Yeah, that is true. I don't think that, I mean, I'm not sure that the water board or others think that we'll have that sort of an event. No one can say for sure, I know, but it's not. Yeah, it would be unusual to have.
Do you recommend we pray?
What's that?
Do you recommend we pray?
No, I don't know how effective that would be, but I mean, it's up to anyone who wants to do that or not, but that's a personal opinion, a personal choice. Yeah.
Well, is this being done with the contract that was led back in January that was switched over to this topic?
Yeah, we have recommendations, but due to many of the issues that we're experiencing here at the city, it is taking time, but we are we're working on it, and we were a little surprised that we need to have permits, and I called and talked to Kevin Lundy at the water board last week, and he said there's just no way of getting out of it. So, and he did think that it might take around 4 months. He did tell me that he'll work as quickly with us as possible. And so this is a very high priority project, obviously, for us. And I've assigned Jennifer Stern, who's an excellent project manager, to work on this. And so she and I are working collaboratively on it, but it is going to take time. So I do, you know, it takes time to get projects like these implemented at the city, and we will make it happen. And it is, I'm sure we'll meet other challenges with this project as we go through the process, but we will get those things in there, and I think it will be useful. So
If it does begin to happen, will the city try to work with the county to make sure the gates aren't closed like they were last time?
They were not closed.
Well, they were closed.
No, they were not.
Well, our boy shows water level data.
Your boy wasn't up at that time. Anyway, it's okay. We can discuss this later.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. So I think, Bill, did you have an update from the Estuary Park Plan Study Group?
I have received no new information from city staff, so we have no report.
Okay, great. So I think that's it, except for action items.
I have a request for action items.
Okay,
Last time we requested as an agenda item, and I'd like to renew and emphasize that request. I would like to see a conceptual plan for Measure DD allocations from Series D. We've talked a lot about a whole bunch of specifics tonight, but I'd like to have the coalition take a step back and look at the broader picture and address the question, where are we going? What are we doing? So that answer obviously will have to come from staff, but what is the vision for how we will spend the remaining funds?
got it.
Not numbers. This is at the level of concept.
Myra, did you have a list that you created, or?
No, the only action item I have is for Terry to talk to Rebecca Dar about a couple of things.
Okay.
Oh, and I
so
guess for the agenda committee, are we actually going to decide about the meeting in person and hybrid?
I think we just want to present a proposal, and figure out what the details of that would be.
I think somebody was supposed to find out if there were a venue, garden center or somewhere else, or the
I think for hybrid
lawn bowling or something that had facilities for a hybrid meeting.
Yeah, I think Mike had suggested the city has the best spots for it. So I might reach out to him for information again. Thanks, Dr. Bailey. Yeah, and then we'll think about whether we should ask Mike to give a presentation on acquisitions work as well. And I don't know if he has an update on mapping. That's it's been a long-standing item on the list as well. Yeah, all right. Is there anything else anyone wants to suggest now? Otherwise, we can wait for our agenda suggestion email in a month and a half or so. Thanks again, Terry, for all your work. And thanks, Mandolin, for sorting the meeting out and everything.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you
nice
all.
evening. Bye-bye.